Group B. Group B. Okay? Group B. The first game of Group B. Egypt 2, Mozambique 2. Let's get straight into it. Okay. Egypt opened the scoring after just 2 minutes, right? How it actually happened is that Mo Salah, he actually failed to control the ball into the box, right? But then luckily Mustafa Mohamed was able to spin, and send a powerful effort into the bottom corner to actually give Egypt the lead, after just 2 minutes of the game. What a brilliant start for the 7-time champions, right? The most successful team in this tournament, right? And they're also the favorites. And then from that point onwards, Egypt were dominant, right? As we saw Trezeguet, he almost added a second soon after, but was only able to strike the base of the post with a fierce low drive. That was a brilliant shot from Trezeguet. Unlucky for Egypt, unlucky for the Pharaohs. You understand, they could have doubled their advantage, perhaps even, sealing the game before the halftime whistle. But however, surprisingly, you can never, ever, ever underestimate your opponent, no matter who you're playing against. Whether you're playing against, a highly fancied opponent or a less fancied opponent, you can never underestimate your opponents. This is the African Cup of Nations, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, this is a major tournament, a major international tournament. And every team that qualified deserves to be there. And they deserve equal respect, just as the highly fancied, countries coming into this tournament. And Mozambique being such, right? So with that being said, Mozambique leveled proceedings in the second half, scoring their first goal ever at the African Cup of Nations in 14 years. Early in the second half, as witness Chimoyo João Cuembo netted a superb header to stun Egypt. He's actually known as Witty. That's like his short name. The goal scorer for Mozambique, who actually got the equalizer. He's known as Witty. That's basically a shorter version of his name, right? He does ply his trade in Portugal for a team called Nacional, right? And just a minute later, Clesio Bakum added a second for Mozambique to turn the game completely on its head. Sprinting beyond a last-ditch slide tackle from Ahmed Hegazi and actually finishing the ball coolly into the corner. That was just a cool, calm, and collected finish. You understand? From Baku. A cool, calm, and collected finish. Wow. What is even me, myself, I was even just as surprised as everybody else. I was just as surprised as all the viewers watching from, home. All the viewers even watching from the stadium. You understand? It was a shock. But wow, Mozambique, turned the game around and nobody actually expected that. No one expected that at all. No one expected that. Hey, but there was this one legend called Elias Pelembe Dominguez, the captain of Mozambique. At 40 years, captaining his side to a Nations Cup. You understand? What a servant he has been to his national team, guys. What a servant. You understand? What a servant to the footballing fraternity. He played for SuperSport United. He played for Mamelodi Sundowns. He played for Bidvest Wits. Recently he was at Royal AM, and now he has returned to his home country in Mozambique. You understand? And what a servant he has been, Dominguez. He's just one of those players that, who are just exceptional, who their love for the game, their passion for the game is what keeps them going, even at the old age. You understand? He's just aging like wine. He's literally one of those players that you could just say he's aging like wine. You understand? When you're exceptional as a man, you just age like wine. And that's Dominguez, Elias Pelembe. With just like 8 minutes remaining, guys, Mozambique could have held on for a historic victory. A historic victory. This could have been their first victory at the African Cup of Nations. And imagine what a way it would have been to actually defeat the most successful team in the history of the African Cup of Nations. Wow, that would have been spectacular. That would have been epic. You understand? That would have been epic. But with just only 8 minutes remaining, the ball did drop to Mohamed Salah again, but he shanked his volley wide with a finish more befitting of a defender. A poor performance from the Liverpool man. But in injury time, in injury time. Unfortunately, Egypt were given a shock lifeline, as a penalty was awarded after Mustafa Mohammed was brought down in the area following a lengthy VAR check. There was no need for the Mozambique defender to actually commit that tackle. No need. But I guess, you know what, it happens. Mistakes happen. Lack of experience. You could actually, you could actually pardon him for the fact that, maybe it's lack of experience, experience at this high level, right? As well as perhaps, just the nerves, nerves, you understand? And just a bit of overexcitement, but obviously from the resulting penalty, Salah stepped up and scored, getting Egypt out of jail late on. But the final result did, it papered over the cracks of a poor display from the Liverpool man, Mohamed Salah, as well as his national team. Egypt played poorly. And like I just said, some of the so-called favorites have played poorly at this tournament. Egypt being one. I mean, that was a poor display from Egypt. Very poor. Very poor. I mean, from the most successful team, the highly rated Egypt, as well as Mohamed Salah, that was just a poor display from all the players. And from this point onwards, that penalty, yes, it does not really, it does not change anything. Because, look, Salah's performance was very poor. He really had a bad game. That was very poor. But we know Mo Salah, what he's capable of. And we know that he will actually bounce back in the next game. We know what he's capable of. And that's exactly what I can tell you. Mark my words. He will bounce back. He will. Okay. So, in the other game, in Group B, here's the final result. A shock result. This is actually the first shock result of this tournament. You understand? Of this year's Nations Cup tournament. The first shock defeat. Ghana 1, Cape Verde 2. Ghana 1, Cape Verde 2. Let's just unpack how the game went. And like I said earlier on, the so-called favorites are just not, performing. But it's still the first game. Let's cut them a bit of some slack, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just cut them a bit of some slack. But let's get into this game of between Ghana and Cape Verde that took place after the other Group B game between Egypt and Mozambique. So how it actually happened is as follows. Gary Rodriguez, he scored a late winner as Cape Verde inflicted defeat on Ghana, in their AFCON opener, right? So it was basically the third match of the day in Abidjan, right? Followed by Nigeria's draw with Equatorial Guinea in Group A, while Egypt, needed a last grasp penalty to actually draw with Mozambique in the opening Group B match at the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium. Okay? So what actually took place is the fact that Cape Verde, they took a surprise lead. Surprisingly, they went ahead in the 70th minute of the game when Dutch-born Gary Rodriguez's shot was actually parried by Ghana goalkeeper Richard Ofori. You understand? Great save by Richard Ofori, but unfortunately on the rebounded effort, it fell to Jamiro Montero, who actually tucked the ball away from actually close range. There was no way that Montero was going to miss from close range. What a great start for Cape Verde. Opening the scoring within the first opening 20 minutes of the game. The goal coming in the 17th minute of the game. From that point onwards, we actually saw a game that was pretty even, right? As we saw Ghana, they thought that they had equalized, that they found their equalizer 10 minutes before the halftime break, right? When Majid Ashmeru, struck a powerful shot into the net from outside Cape Verde's penalty area. But unfortunately, however, VAR, after the VAR check was complete, the goal was unfortunately disallowed because Ransford Koenigsdorfer was in an offside position as he was deemed to be interfering with play by being in goalkeeper Vozina's Vozina, right, line of sight. Okay, so he was actually distracting the view of the goalkeeper Vozina of Cape Verde, right? And then from that point onwards, unfortunately with Dorfer, he was actually making his way back after inadvertently striking the upright when, a punch clearance from Cape Verde goalkeeper Vosina hit him flush on and cannon back towards goal, right? But then following the halftime break, I think the team talk did, help, right? In terms of like assisting Ghana's cause, because we did see the Black Stars of Ghana did come out guns blazing in the second half, because Ghana did find parity 11 minutes into the second half with Alexander Jiko heading home from a Jordan Ayew corner, bending down to get his head to the ball as the Islanders' defense failed to clear, and incautious delivery. Sorry for my English, guys. My English is actually it's top notch to say the least. So for those of y'all, please just what I say, it was a great delivery from Jordan Ayew, which was actually met by defender Jiku. Great header, great equalizer for the Black Stars of Ghana. This is basically their first goal of the tournament, and they were looking to actually add on to that, right? Because from that point onwards, the Black Stars, they might well have gone ahead. But unfortunately, Joseph Pencils, narrowly missed, out at the back post after being teed up by Anton Semenyo, who has been on fine form for Bournemouth this season, alongside his striking partner, Dominic Solanke, who did get our Premier League Player of the Month for December. So he has been on fine form for Bournemouth in the English Premier League. But however, after that, surprisingly, again, chances repeatedly fell Cape Verde's way. You understand? Because we saw Jiku made, a great goal clearance, a great goal line clearance to deny Bebe 20 minutes from time, while Rodriguez was twice denied in the final 10 minutes of the game. So, Cape Verde, the least fancied opponent, actually had the better of the chances. They actually had the better of the chances, in the closing stages of the game. And again, like I say, it does not matter which team is actually more fancy than the other, which opponent is actually more fancy than the other. You understand? You gotta respect every opponent. You gotta understand that, not every fixture is a David versus Goliath clash. This is the African Cup of Nations. In African Cup of Nations football, there's no David versus Goliath clash. Okay? There's never a David versus Goliath clash. And this game certainly did prove that once again. Because, the breakthrough finally came in stoppage time. And surprisingly, it came to Cape Verde's way. It came in stoppage time after Mohamed Salisu. He failed to clear his lines. And a clever touch from debutant substitute Gilson Benchimol took it past Ofori, and he set up Rodriguez, unselfishly setting it into the path of Rodriguez, and what a great way to actually start your tournament, and what a great way to silence your critics. What a great way to prove everybody wrong, that look, nobody must look down upon you, nobody must overlook your potential, because Cape Verde with this win, with this performance against the Black Stars of Ghana, this clearly shows that maybe this is a team that can actually surprise us in this tournament. They can actually pull off a major surprise, become the underdog of this tournament. And then we did also see Ghana veteran Dede Ayew. He came on in with 28 minutes left to mark his participation in his 8th, Cup of Nations tournament, equaling the record of current Cameroon coach Rigobert Song, who was the captain of Cameroon during his playing days, as well as Egyptian Ahmed Hassan. So those are 3 players that have played, in 8 African Cup of Nations tournament. And Dede Ayew, Andre Ayew did equal their record. So this is his 8th Cup of Nations tournament. You understand? Unfortunately, he could not make much of an impact, as the Black Stars, his team, did slump to a shock 2-1 defeat to Cape Verde, the least fancied opponent. Basically, as for Ghana, it's back to the drawing board for them. Back to the drawing board for them. If they are to win this tournament, they really need to show a much improved performance when they meet Egypt next Thursday, right? They really need to improve. Both Egypt and Ghana have it all to play for. It's a massive 6-pointer for both Egypt and Ghana. Remember, this is a repeat of the 2010 African Cup of Nations final. Egypt versus Ghana, which saw the Pharaohs clinching their 7th title. That was the last time the Pharaohs were able to clinch the title. So, as well as like earlier, the Group B game saw Mohamed Salah convert a stoppage time penalty to actually spare Egypt's blushes in a 2-2 draw with Mozambique, who were playing in the AFCON for the first time since 2010. So both Egypt and Ghana haven't really been convincing, but however, it's still the first game. It's still the first game of the tournament, and both teams have it all to prove when they clash against each other. It's going to be a heavyweight clash. So basically, there are 3 heavyweight clashes, okay? Senegal take on Cameroon on Friday. Nigeria take on Ivory Coast on Thursday, as well as Ghana take on Egypt. So those are heavyweight clashes. Heavyweight clashes. And all 6 of those teams that I've just mentioned have it all to prove. Senegal have already opened their tournament. Defending champions opened their tournament with a 3-0 victory already. Cameroon were held to a 1-1 draw against Guinea. So from this point onwards, all 6 of those teams have it all to play for if they are to fancy their chances of actually winning, this prestigious tournament in Ivory Coast, including the hosts themselves. Because Ivory Coast, if you look at the hosts, Ivory Coast in the first game that they won against Guinea-Bissau, they were far from convincing, to say the least. They were far from convincing. Yes, they won the game by 2-0, but there's a lot of question marks to be asked. A lot of question marks to be asked from the hosts. Because it looks like a clear downgrade. I mean, you look back at the Ivory Coast team that had Yaya Toure, that had Solomon Kalou, that had Didier Drogba, that had Gervinho, that had Cheick Tiote, that had Saka Tiene. You look back to that Ivory Coast team, it looks like a major downgrade. You understand? A major downgrade. Because now the only player that the only player that I fancy within that Ivory Coast midfield is actually Frank Kessie. He will actually play a pivotal role. He played a much pivotal role in that opening game. Serge Aurier, the captain, far from convincing because he also made a couple of mistakes, a lot of blunders. Luckily, they were playing against a team that is really not clever in terms of attacking, a team that really lacks a lot of confidence. And if Ivory Coast are to win this tournament, they're gonna really have to they're gonna have to prove themselves against Nigeria. It's not gonna be easy. And this game against Nigeria, it's a must-win game for both teams because both of these sides are far from convincing. And this is the game where they both have to prove themselves. They both have to prove themselves if they are, to be the team that will be considered to actually go all the way and clinch the tournament. Nigeria will also come into this one wanting to win this tournament with to prove. The last time they won it was in 2013 following that 1-0 victory against Burkina Faso in Johannesburg at the FNB Stadium in 2013. And then now, Ghana meet Egypt, right? And then the other game, Cape Verde take on Mozambique on Friday. And both of these games will be at the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium. You understand? In Abidjan. Cape Verde taking on Mozambique, 2 island countries, 2 Portuguese-speaking countries, 2 countries that were, under the Portuguese colony. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between these 2 teams. Mozambique against Cape Verde. It's going to be an interesting matchup, but we will see. We wait to see. Ladies and gentlemen, that's me, Bubesi Mpati Mhlaba, the host of this show, Football is a Religion. If you like this video, please, don't forget to like, share. Please don't forget to click on that like button. Please don't forget, if you are new to this channel, please also subscribe. Please share. You understand? Let us grow the community together. Africa, #1. Viva.